Okay. Okay, so today is a very special day. Today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So of course it's Rosh Chodesh. Every Rosh Chodesh is very special. But today is the day that the Rebbe was well enough to go home from 770. He had a heart attack. I think it was in Tavshin Lamed Ches. And from Simchas Torah until Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe was in his, they turned his office in 770 to basically like a hospital room. And Rosh Chodesh Kislev was the day that the Rebbe was well enough to go back home. So it became a big yantif. And the whole month of Kislev is a time of we have Yotes Kislev, which is Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, and we have other Rabbeim's birthdays and days of redemption from prison. So it's and Hanukkah. And Rosh Chodesh, like we learned, it's Rosh Chodesh. It's the head of the month. So all the days of Kislev are included in Rosh Chodesh. So it's really a very, very special day. Okay. So this teaching was actually said in 1979. And it is so relevant for today that it's incredible. It's a Sicha about Eretz Yisrael. And I have a very good friend. Her name is Mrs. Paige Kramer, and she wanted to dedicate the class today in honor of Rabbi Tzvi Kogan, the Shliach from the United Arab Emirates, who was taken. But this Sicha brings us comfort, and brings us comfort. And Mir Hashem, we will merit the coming of Mashiach immediately, when we'll have true peace with ease, which is the title of the class today. Okay, so the pasuk the pasuk and the Rashi that we're gonna delve into today is about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu left his parents' house. He's on the way to Lavan. And some say there, for 14 years, he went to study in the yeshiva of Shemin Aver. And in the yeshiva, he never went to sleep. He may have dozed off when he was exhausted, but he never actually lay down to go to sleep. And now he's on the way. He left the yeshiva, he's on the way to Lavan, to Haran, to get married. And he's tired. And it's the first time in 14 years that he actually lies down to go to sleep. And then he has a dream. And in the dream, there's a ladder, and there are angels going up and coming down. And Hashem tells him that he's going to protect him. And Hashem tells him that the land that you're lying on, I am going to give it to you and to your children. So this is our topic for today. The Hebrew words are, V'hine Hashem nitzav alav. Hashem is standing over him by Yomar, and he says, Ani Hashem Elokei Avraham Avicha, I am the God of Avraham, your father, Elokei Yitzchak, and the God of Yitzchak, Ha'aretz asher ata shechav aleha, the land that you are lying on, Lecha atnena, I will give it to you, Ulazaracha, and to your children. So, first of all, we're going to compare and contrast the Gemara, Rashi, and the Medrash. So about this verse, the Gemara says, the ground that you are lying upon, what novelty does this introduce? Hashem says, the land that you're lying upon, that I'm going to give to you and to your children. What is the big shakes? What's so great about it? Yaakov is laying on a piece of land. How big is that piece of land that he's laying on? The size of a human being, the size of the amount of space that a person takes up. This is the greatness that Hashem is going to give you, the land that you're laying on. What's so great about that? A tiny little piece of land. Eretz Yisrael is compared to the rest of the world. Eretz Yisrael is very small, but what bothers the Gemara the Gemara is asking, what novelty does this introduce? Did Hashem promise to give Yaakov's children only the 4 amos, the 4 cubits upon which he was lying? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yitzchak answers, this teaches us that the Holy One folded the entire land of Israel and placed it beneath our forefather Yaakov so that it would be easy for his children to conquer it. So Hashem did an incredible miracle. He took the entire land of Israel and folded it up like you fold a blanket, and he put it under Yaakov Avinu so that it would be easy for his children to conquer it. So on this, Rashi comes and Rashi says, what is the connection between folding up the land of Israel, this incredible miracle, which is way above nature, to take a piece of land and fold it up, then place it beneath Yaakov Avinu? What's the connection between folding up this piece of land and that it should be that it will be easy for his children to conquer it? What's the connection? So Rashi comes and says, like the 4 cubits upon which he was lying. It should be easy for his children to conquer it like the 4 cubits upon which he was lying. Just like if you are laying on a piece of land, it's not so hard for you to conquer it. You're ready, you're on it. So that's how easy it will be for his children to conquer in the future, just as easy as it is for you to take possession of 4 amos. That's what Rashi says. Okay, so again, to summarize, the Gemara asks the question, what's the greatness? What is the pasuk saying? What's the greatness that Hashem is going to give him the land that he's lying on, which is such a small piece of land? What is the significance? What is the great shakes of these words? The land that you're laying on. The land that you're laying on, that's such a small piece of land. So the Gemara comes and says that Hashem folded the entire Eretz Yisrael, placed it under him, and so that it will be easy for his children to conquer it. And Rashi comes and explains that just like it's easy for a person to conquer 4 amos, 4 cubits of land, so it will be easy for his children to conquer Eretz Yisrael when they want to do so. That's the Gemara. Then comes Rashi. That's in the Gemara. Rashi comments on the Gemara. That's the Gemara. Now, if we put the Gemara aside and we look into the Chumash and we look into Rashi in the Chumash, it seems like it's the same thing. It seems like Rashi is saying the same thing as the Gemara. However, there are small little differences that are going to make a big difference. What does Rashi say? On the words Shechev Aleha, that you are resting on it. Kipel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem folded, Kol Eretz Yisrael Tachtav, the entire land of Israel underneath him. Ramazloi, he hinted to him, Shetehei Naicha Lichbay Shavanav, that it will be easy for his children to conquer it. Seems like it's the same thing. However, we're going to see what's the difference. Number 1, in the Gemara, Rashi feels that it's necessary to explain to us what is the connection between Hashem doing this tremendous miracle of folding the entire land of Israel and placing it underneath Yaakov, and the fact that his children will conquer in the future. And he says, what's the connection? Just like it's easy to conquer, just like it's easy to conquer the small piece of land, this 4 amos, so too will be easy for his children to conquer Eretz Yisrael. But then, so if Rashi feels that it's necessary in the Gemara to tell us that just like it's easy to conquer 4 cubits of space, so too will be easy for the children to conquer Eretz Yisrael. If Rashi feels that it's necessary to say in the Gemara, Why doesn't Rashi feel necessary to say it in Rashi, in Chumash? Who is the Chumash for? It's a ben Chumash the Mikra, a child who's learning Chumash, he's 5 years old. If it's necessary to tell us in the Gemara, which is something that child will learn much later, why wouldn't Rashi tell us why doesn't Rashi feel necessary to say in Chumash for Ben Chumash the Mikra to explain to Ben Chumash the Mikra what's the connection of laying on this piece of land and conquering it, that just like it's easy to conquer a small piece of land that you're laying on, so too will be easy for your children to conquer it. Why Rashi doesn't say that? Rashi stops short. Rashi just says that it's a hint that will be easy for the children to conquer it, but it doesn't explain the connection between conquering the land, between conquering it and laying on it. Yeah, that's number one. What is it? It's not so easy. It's not so easy? Yeah, we're laying on it about we're not easy to begin with. Not about this time. We're going to get to this. Yeah, it's okay. So yes, you're right. You're right. Even to conquer a small piece of land the size of 4 ames does take a little bit of heavy lifting, but it's not that bad to conquer 4 ames. It shouldn't be that difficult, right? So according to the Gemara, it shouldn't be that difficult to conquer 4 ames of land. That's a land that he's resting on. So Hashem, so it will be as easy to conquer the land as it is to take possession of 4 ames of land. That's the Gemara. But Rashi doesn't go there. Rashi doesn't explain the connection between laying on the land and conquering it. He doesn't say that. Question number one, why doesn't Rashi say it in Chumash, which would be very valuable information for a 5-year-old? That's number one. Number two, the words that Rashi is using, his caption, his headline, is very telling. Rashi doesn't say the land that he is resting on. Rashi just says he is resting on. He doesn't use the word in his caption. He doesn't use the word aretz. Welcome. He just says sheichev aleha, that you are resting on it. It doesn't say the land that you are resting on it. If Rashi, so the commentaries are, it seems like Rashi is addressing the same issue that the Gemara is addressing. The Gemara's issue is the land that you are laying on. The Gemara's issue is, why is the land that you are laying on such a tiny piece of land? And therefore, the Gemara explains, Hashem folded the whole thing and put it under him, and just as it's easy to conquer 4 ames, that's how it is going to be easy for the children to conquer the Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara has an issue with the amount of land. So we would think that Rashi also has an issue with a tiny amount of land. But if that was the case, Rashi would have used the word land in his caption, in his headline. Why does Rashi omit the word land? Which means that Rashi does not have an issue with Rashi doesn't have an issue with the amount of land. Something else is bothering Rashi. Because if Rashi had the same issue as the Gemara, what's the big deal? What? Okay. Yaakov is sleeping on this land, and Hashem comes and tells him, the land that you are sleeping on, this is going to belong to you and your children. So the Gemara asks right away, what's the big deal? The land that he's sleeping on, that's such a small space. That's the Gemara's question. We would think that this is also Rashi's question, but it can't be Rashi's question. Something else is bothering Rashi, because if that Rashi had the same issue as the Gemara, then Rashi would have the word land in his headline, in his caption. The fact that it doesn't say the word land means that Rashi's issue has nothing to do with the amount of land. Rashi's issue is, why does it say you're laying on it? Why can Hashem just say, Hashem just appear to him and tell him, I will give you the land. Why does it have to say the land that you're laying on? Rashi's issue is going to be the land that you're laying on. Rashi doesn't have a problem with the amount of land. Rashi has a problem with the words laying on. Why does the pasuk feel necessary? Why does the pasuk say the land that you're laying on that I'm going to give it to you? I'm going to say the land I'll give it to you. When Hashem promised the land to Avram, he didn't say the land that you're laying on. I promise you the land. Rashi's issue we're going to see is on the words Sheikhev Aleha that you're laying on. Rashi does not have an issue with the amount of land. Okay, so we have to. Okay, so we're going to have to see what is Rashi really bothering Rashi. It's not the same issue as the Gemara. Next question. We have 4 questions. So we already did 2. Question number 1. Why doesn't Rashi tell the Ben Chamish the Mikra the connection between folding up the land and conquering, as he does in the Gemara? I keep repeating myself, but I feel like it's important because it's, to bring it down. Okay, so why doesn't Rashi? Question number 1: why doesn't Rashi tell the Ben Chamish the Mikra, the 5-year-old student who's learning Chumash, that there's the Hashem folded the land in order to show Hashem folded the land under Yaakov, so that it should be easy for his children to conquer it. And what's the connection? That just like it's easy for you to conquer a land of 4 amas, so too it'll be easy for the children to conquer it. Why doesn't Rashi say that bring the connection between us conquering it and folding of the land? Why doesn't Rashi explain that in Chumash? That's question number 1. Question number 2: why doesn't Rashi use the word aretz, land, in his caption when he's explaining this verse? He only says Sheikhev Aleha and not aretz. Question number 3: in the Gemara it says Hashem folded the entire land of Israel and placed it beneath our forefather Yaakov, so that it will be easy for his children to conquer it. That's what it says in the Gemara, so that. In Rashi, it doesn't say the word so that. In Rashi, it says Ramazlai. Hashem folded the land under him, Ramazlai, to hint to him. Why is Rashi changing the words of the Gemara? In the Gemara, it says Hashem folded the land so that it will be easy for the children to conquer. Here, it doesn't say so that. Here it says Ramaz, Hashem hinted to him. Why that change? What's the difference between Ramaz, a hint, and so that? According to the Gemara, it seems like Hashem pressed the activate button. The fact that Hashem folded the entire Yisrael and put it beneath Yaakov, it was so that he's doing an action now. He's pressing the activate button now, so that in future generations it will be easy for his children to conquer it. That's what it means, kidei, so that. He's doing an act now, so that it will help the children in the future. But Ramaz, Hashem folded the whole entire land of Eretz Yisrael under Yaakov to hint to him, to tell him something. Here, there's no activation. There's no action. Hashem did the act of folding the land, but it's not that Hashem folded the land now so that it will help the children in the future. But the fact that he folded the land, it's to hint to him something. It's not that it actually pressing the activate button to make it happen now. Yeah.
When the others do something so that we have the potential to do that, is that what the so that means? It's activating the potential of it happening in the future? Or it's a different word?
Okay, so a great question. But here, it's not the others doing something. This is Hashem doing something. Hashem did an action so that it will be easy for the children to conquer in the future. That's what the Gemara is saying. And our $1 million question is, why can't Rashi just stay with that? What does he have to change it for? And say, no, not so that. Not so that, but rather it's a hint. It's a hint to something that's going to be in the future. If Hashem wants to give information, it's a hint so that it will be easy for your children to conquer in the future. If Hashem wants to give information, give a hint, then all Hashem has to do is tell us. If Hashem wants to, in the past, if Hashem wants to give us information, then he just has to say it. He doesn't have to do this unbelievable miracle. Hashem's word is Hashem's word. Hashem gives the word. Hashem is real. Whatever Hashem says is done. That's it. So why does Hashem have to do this unbelievable miracle, this earth-shattering miracle, to take the whole land and fold it under Yaakov Avinu, just to tell him a piece of information, just to hint to him that in the future it'll be easy for his children to conquer it. If Hashem wanted to just hint to him something, and it's not about activating something, but just to hint him, just to tell him, which is what Rashi is saying, then why can't Hashem just say it? Why does he have to do this unbelievable miracle? It's an unbelievable miracle. I don't know. It's an unbelievable miracle. It's like the Aron in the Beis Hamikdash. How could it be that the Aron took up space and didn't take up space at the same time? It's an incredible miracle. So and Hashem doesn't do miracles for just randomly. Hashem doesn't do a miracle for no reason. So if you want to say, according to the Gemara, okay, Hashem did this. Hashem folded the land of Eretz Yisrael, put it under Yaakov Avinu, in order so that, like the Gemara, so that it'll be easier for his children to conquer later on. We see today how difficult it is for Eretz Yisrael to be ours. Okay, Hashem had to do an earth-shattering miracle so that we could get our land without that the whole world could finally recognize that the land belongs to us. So we can understand you need an earth-shattering miracle. But according to Rashi specifically changes one word. Instead of kidei sheh, so that, Rashi says, it was a hint. Hashem did this unbelievable miracle. Hashem wanted to give us a piece of information. The piece of information is that we will be that when we want to conquer, that when we're ready to conquer their land, it will be easy. So why is Rashi changing from the Gemara? So that was question number 3. Okay, let's see if we can remember. Question number 1: why does Rashi not tell us what he says in the Gemara in Rashi to help the Ben Chamish Mikra? Question number 2: why is the Dibur HaMaschil? Why is Rashi's headline? Why does he omit the word land? Question number 3: why does he switch from the Gemara? In the Gemara it says so that, and in Rashi it just says Ramaz, a hint. Last question. The Medrash also asks this question about this pasuk. What does it mean? Why does it say in the pasuk? Why does Hashem say, "I'm going to give you the land that you are laying on it"? And the Medrash has a different interpretation. What does the Medrash say? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. The Medrash asks, why did Hashem fold the land of Eretz Yisrael and put it under Yaakov? So according to the Gemara, it's that it'll be easy for the children to conquer it. According to the Medrash has a different reason. Why did he fold the land and put it under him? Because to show ownership. If you're laying on something, if you're sitting on something, if you're standing on something, then it shows that you own it. Right? Kids are playing. I got it first. It's in my hand. If it's in my hand, if I'm holding it, then it's for sure mine. I got it. I got it first. It's mine. Right? So according to the Gemara, why did Hashem fold it? So it'll be easy for the children to conquer. According to the Medrash, why did Hashem fold it and put the whole thing under him? Now the whole thing is under you and you're standing on it, you're sitting on it, it's under your belt, it's yours to show ownership. So again, Gemara says to conquer, it will be easy for the children to conquer. Medrash says a different approach, so that to show ownership. So now, okay.
It runs in the family, like it's we owned it at that time. It wasn't something that it'll be easy to conquer, right? It's opposite. We didn't have to conquer it. Well, we just went straight to ownership.
Very interesting.
I think they're both one.
So we do own it. It does belong to us. Hashem promised it to us. But the problem...
So we promised it to go out and conquer.
We still have to conquer even though it's ours. And this is what it says in the very first Rashi of the entire Chumash in Bereshis. It says that the nations of the world are going to come to us and they're going to say, "Listim atem, you are robbers, that you took this land from the Canaani." So Hashem says in the first Rashi, okay, I have to read it.
After night, the world was divided, and Shem got Israel.
Yeah, was promised the land. Yeah, that's why they have to conquer it. The Shane got it, and now they have to conquer it.
That's why they claim the there. That's their piece. Take it back. That's a new.
Okay, you know what? This is the very, very first Rashi. In Bereshit, just the word of Bereshit, you have many Dibur HaMaschil. It's a very long Rashi, so I'm trying to find it. I'm looking. In the beginning, you don't have to look very far. The beginning, the very first Dibur HaMaschil, Bereshit. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says, "Lo yatzarech lahaschos haTorah ela me'chodesh hazachem." The Torah should have started from the very first mitzvah, which is about Rosh Chodesh. That's the first mitzvah that we were given in today's Rosh Chodesh. First mitzvah we were given was Rosh Chodesh. Shehi mitzvah rishayna sh'nitztava by Yisrael. It's the first mitzvah that the Yidden were commanded. Why does the entire Torah start with Genesis, with the beginning? Mishum kayach ma'asav higid la'amay laseis lahem nachlas goyim. Let's see how they translate. Okay, you know what? It just gives insights. It doesn't translate word for word. Okay. The strength of his actions, he said to his nation to give them everlasting to give them their inheritance, to give them the inheritance of the nations. So that if the other nations come to the Yidden and say, "Listim atem, you are robbers," that you conquered the land of the seven nations, the Jewish people answer, the entire land belongs to God. God created the world. He created it, and Hashem gave it to those that it's right in his eyes. It was his will to give it to the seven nations, and it was his will not to take it from them and to give it to us. That's the very first Rashi. Okay, now I lost my train of thought.
There's 4 questions.
Ownership versus conquest. So yes, we did have to conquer it, even though Hashem decided to give it to us, we still have to conquer it. Thank you very much. Okay, so the question is, why does Rashi take the approach of the Gemara that Hashem, to take the approach of the Gemara, which is that Hashem folded the land in order to make it easy for his children to conquer it? Why doesn't Rashi take the approach of the Medrash, which is that Hashem folded the land to give us ownership, which is the Medrash's interpretation, especially since we're going to see that Rashi does hold by the Medrash in another case. What are we talking about? We're talking about Avraham. See, Hashem promised the land to Yaakov Avinu over here, but Hashem already promised the land to Avraham Avinu. And what did Hashem say then? Hashem said, "Get up." There's a song about it. Kum hisalech ba'aretz, right? Get up and walk from all directions of the land, from the north to the south, to the east and to the west. Sorry. Walk the width and the breadth of the breadth and the length of the land, and the Gemara on this verse says, what's the purpose? Why should Avram walk all over the land? And the Gemara says the same thing as he says here. The Gemara says the purpose is to make it easier for his children to conquer it in the future. So the Gemara says the same thing in both cases. By Avram should walk the land, and the fact that Yaakov laid on the land is so that it should be the fact that Yaakov laid on the land and Hashem folded the land under him. It's all so that it should be easy for the children to conquer it in the future. But over there, by Avraham, when it says that Avram walked the length and the breadth of the land, Rashi says nothing. Why?
You're saying Israel, you're saying the whole land, you walk the length of the land, actually physically walking?
Yes, actually physically walking. Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So over here, Rashi feels the need when it comes to Yaakov. Rashi seemingly does agree with the Gemara that Hashem fold the land under Yaakov, so it should be easy for the children to conquer it in the future. But the first time around, when the Gemara says this, by Avraham, Rashi doesn't say anything. Why doesn't Rashi say anything by Avraham? Because what is Rashi's goal? Rashi's goal is to explain the simple interpretation of the verse to Ben Chamesh Mikra. So for a Ben Chamesh Mikra who's learning Chumash for the first time, 5-year-old, right? When you tell him, when he reads in the Torah that Hashem told Avram, get up and walk the breadth and the length of the land. So to say, so that'll be easy for the children to conquer in the future, that is not pshat. That is not a simple, like, what's the connection? Because you walked on it, now that's what's going to help many generations later that your children should conquer it. So that's not a pshat. That could be the Gemara, but that's not a pshat interpretation. So Rashi doesn't say anything when the Torah says that Hashem told Avram to walk the length and the breadth of the land. Because there's no connection between the children are going to conquer in the future. That's not pshat. And Rashi says nothing. Why? Because what is the according to Rashi? According to Rashi, what is the purpose? And therefore Rashi doesn't have to say anything. What is the purpose of Avram walking the width and the breadth and the length of Eretz Yisrael? It's not so that his children should be able to conquer in the future, because that's one step removed. That's a medrash. That's not a medrash. That's a little bit more far-fetched. But why did he have to walk it? Very simple. Because when he walks it, it shows ownership. If Avraham Avinu is able to walk wherever he wants in the land of Israel and no one's going to stop him, it shows ownership. You see, no one could come into my house without my permission and just walk around my house. If they were able to just walk into my house and walk wherever they want, then that would show ownership. So if Avraham Avinu is walking around wherever he wants in Eretz Yisrael and no one is stopping him, that shows ownership. So that makes sense. According to Ben Chamesh the Mikra, that makes sense. Hashem tells Avram, get up, walk the land, walk all over it, and no one's going to stop you, and this will show ownership. So Rashi takes no, so Rashi doesn't have to say anything because it's muvan me'elav, it's understood for Ben Chamish Mikra, that what's the purpose of walking it? To show ownership. So Rashi does not say anything. So here we have like this. When it comes to Avram Avinu walking the land, Rashi is taking the approach of the Medrash, which is that the purpose of walking the land is to show ownership. Here, when it comes to Yaakov laying on the land, what does Rashi say? That Hashem folded the whole land under him, so that should be easy for the children to conquer in the future. Why does Rashi take the approach of the Gemara by Yaakov and not take the approach of the Medrash, which is what he started, which is what he aligned himself with when it comes to Avram? Why switch? By Avram Avinu, Rashi holds that he walked the land to show ownership. So why switch now by Yaakov and say that he laid on the land he laid on the land so that it'll be easy for children to conquer it, which is what the Gemara says. The Gemara says conquer both by Avram and both by Avram and by Yaakov. The Medrash says ownership. Why does Rashi take ownership by Avraham and conquering by Yaakov?
I like the answer, but by Abraham, if you go to Ishmael or Yitzchak, by Yaakov, it's only the Jewish people. So that's why it's kind of like a repeat, that Yaakov also.
And thinking another angle, it's a Rahmanis piece, maybe, Rahmanis on Yidden, for the future generations, so it's folded with the land versus the ownership piece. Kind of thinking the people up.
Interesting. Okay, they're very interesting. But you're right that what's happening with Yaakov is an extra layer. There's something extra that's happening with Yaakov more than what happened by Avram Avinu. You are right, yes. Okay.
Come back from our Israel. Let's see.
Okay, so now we're going to come to the answers. And we're going to see that although Rashi, he takes the pshat approach, which is the simple interpretation of the verse, we're going to find out by the end that Rashi ends up being even more geschmack than the Gemara. A commentator who's explaining just pshat is going to end up teaching us and showing us something even more powerful, layer and lesson than even the Gemara. Okay. Rashi does not have the same issue as the Gemara. What was the Gemara's issue? The Gemara's issue is, it's such a tiny piece of land. What's the big chiddush? Hashem says, the land that you're laying on, I'm going to give it to you and your children. The Gemara said, oh, such a tiny piece of land? Hashem folded it and put it under him. So the Gemara took issue with the land. The land is so small, such a tiny piece of land. Rashi had, according to Pshat, has no issue with the word land. Because Rashi says it's very simple, according to Pshat. If I say the land, ha'aretz, with hey yediyah, the land that you are resting on, it's talking about the entire land. It's not just the piece that you're laying on. According to Pshat, the land, it's generic. It's the whole thing. It's the whole land. Which land? The whole land. So Rashi doesn't have the issue of the Gemara. And how do we see that proof? The proof is that when Hashem says to Avram Avinu, I will give you the land that you could see. Right? I don't know the verse by heart, but when Hashem speaks to Avram Avinu, Hashem says, the land that you could see, I'm going to give to you and to your children. So we know that Eretz Yisrael has a lot of mountains and valleys. And even if Avram Avinu stood on the highest mountain, our eyesight could only go so far. So would we say when Hashem said, I'm going to give you the land that you could see, that Hashem said, oh, I'm only going to give you the land that your eyes could see? No. Hashem is telling him, you're getting the whole land. Why does Hashem say, I'm giving you the land that you could see? Because when you're giving someone a present, you want them to appreciate it. If I spend a lot of money and buy someone a present and I bring it to them for their birthday, I'll say, open it, see what I bought for you, because I want you to appreciate what I got. So when Hashem says to Avram, the land that you see, I will give to you, it's not just only the land that you will see, it's the whole land. Same thing. When Hashem says the land that you're laying on, I'm going to give to you, it's not just the Daled Amos that you're actually laying on, but it's the whole land. So Rashi, because Rashi's job is to explain the pshat, the simple interpretation of the verse, so Rashi is not bothered by the size of the land. Rashi right away says, obviously, when the verse says the land that you're laying on, for sure it means the entire land. So Rashi takes no issue with the word land. He understands that it's the whole thing. But what does Rashi take issue with? The land that you are laying on. Why couldn't Rashi just say, why couldn't the pasuk just say, I'm going to give you the land? Why the land that you're laying on? That's the word laying on, Sheikha Balaha, that's what's bothering Rashi.
What do you assume? Again, it's the whole. You don't think own the land that you
Right.
How makes sense. Assume that. But nobody thinks into it and goes, only the land that it. Right. It's the whole land.
Right. So Rashi doesn't take an issue with it. So what does Rashi say? So Rashi takes the word Sheikha Baleha. I'm bothered. Rashi's bothered. Why does he the land that you're laying on? So what does Rashi say? Rashi has two parts. Part number one, Sheikha Baleha, the land that he's laying on. Kipel Kadosh Baruch Hu Kol Eretz Yisrael Tachtav. Hashem folded the entire land under him. Ramazlai. Okay. Hashem folded the entire land under him. Ramazlai. Hashem came to hint to him. Shetehei Noicha Lichbash Levanav. Hashem came to hint to him that it'll be easy for his children to conquer it. So what's going on here? The fact that Hashem folded the land under him, Rashi is following the Medrash. There are two parts that have to happen here. Number one, the fact that he folded the entire thing and put it under him, that was so that Yaakov should take ownership of the land. So Rashi is true to the Medrash. Rashi is true to the Medrash, and Rashi is saying the first step is that Hashem folded the land so that it should actually be under him. It should be under his belt. He should be sitting on it, that he should own it. Just like Hashem gave Avram ownership, right? How did Avram get ownership? Because he walked the land. So now Rashi's troubled again. Rashi says, step number one, Yaakov has to take ownership of the land like Avram took ownership of the land. But Rashi is troubled. Avraham did something in order to take ownership of the land. What did he do? He walked it. What is Yaakov doing to take ownership of the land? Nothing. He's just laying on it. Completely passive. And when it comes to Avram walking the land, Hashem told him to do so. Hashem said, get up and walk the land. Here, Hashem didn't say, lay down. He lay down on it, so he was tired. It was not a command from Hashem. He was tired, he lay down. And he did nothing.
Tim works hard for his mommy, whatever, and then the children doesn't get it. They don't have to do anything.
So that's that's exactly what this is the unbelievable chiddush of Rashi. We thought that the Rashi is just like the Gemara. The Gemara says Hashem folded the land. Rashi has that the Gemara takes issue with the word land. oh, such a tiny piece of land, Hashem folded it under him, so that it should be easy for the children to conquer it. According to Rashi, it's a whole different story. Rashi doesn't have a trouble with the land. Rashi knows it's the whole land. It's the whole land. Hashem folded it under him, number one, to give him ownership. But now we have another question. What did he do to get ownership? Avram walked it. He did nothing. This is the unbelievable chiddush of Rashi.
Why did he have to do ownership if Avram walked? Very good question.
Because there's another layer here. There's another layer here. Not just is Yaakov taking ownership like Avram took ownership, but
Yeah.
Which of their natures? That's it is easy, so you just take ownership, and rural requires conquering, and you combine the two and
you're saying all amazing stuff. You're saying all amazing stuff.
Why did it not yet? Not in the. There's so many times when Hashem leaves out Yitzchak, I always wonder about.
Uh-huh.
And davening, someone remembers of them, remembers it. Yitzchak is right. He didn't go anyway.
Yitzchak was a whole different. Yitzchak was so holy. He was a carbon for Hashem. He was that's great questions. Great questions. Okay. Let's take a step back. Avram Avinu got ownership because he walked it, right? When a person if I want to give you my cell phone, the two-step process. Number one, I give it to you. And maybe I even write a document. I'm giving Suri my phone, right? And then the receiver has to do something also. What do you have to do? You have to take off all my contacts, put on your contacts, maybe put your pictures on, maybe put a different screensaver or a picture of someone that you love on the phone. So it's a two-step process. If I want to give you something, I have to do something, and you have to do something, right? So when Hashem told Avram to walk the land, why did Hashem tell him to walk the land? So that Avraham, who is the recipient of the gift, it would be for Avram's benefit, that Avram could feel like he's the owner. But with Yaakov didn't do anything. And with Avraham, everyone saw that he was walking the land and no one could stop him. Yaakov laying on the ground, no one saw it. No one knew about it. It wasn't to prove his ownership. Because there was no one to prove it to, because no one saw it. The big difference here, when Avram walked the land, Avram felt like he owned it, and he proved ownership because no one could stop him. And everyone saw that Avram owns the land. When it comes to Yaakov, all Yaakov's doing is sleeping. No one sees it. No one knows about it. He's not proving ownership to anyone. What was accomplished by laying down? We don't see ownership. We don't see ownership in the same way of Avraham by Yaakov. Okay. So if you just lay on it, the ownership is very weak because no one saw it. No one saw it. You don't feel anything. It's very weak. So this is what's bothering Rashi. Okay. So what's bothering Rashi is, why does it say the words that Yaakov laid on the ground? What did he do? What was the purpose? What happened here? By Avram, he walked it. He showed everyone that he owns it. It was everyone saw it. But by Yaakov, no one sees it. So what was accomplished? What's the greatness of him laying on it? Ownership? It's not showing an increase in ownership. By Avram Avinu, it showed that he owned it. So yes, there is ownership. part one of Rashi is that Hashem folded the land and put it under him, and it did show ownership. But seemingly, it's a much weaker ownership than Adam Avinu who walked the land. There's got to be something more. There's got to be, what is the purpose of laying on the land? Why does the pasuk have to say these words? And the answer is, there's a new layer. There's a new incredible thing that's happening here. By Avram Avinu, yes, he has ownership of the land by walking it, and the fact that Hashem folded the land under Yaakov proves, according to the Gemara, proves that it will be easier for his children to conquer it. But according to the Gemara, how easy will it be to conquer it? As easy as it is to conquer 4 amos, the space of a person. That's according to the Gemara. Comes Rashi, and Rashi is a chiddush. The chiddush is that it's a little bit of heavy lifting to conquer, as you said, it's a little bit of heavy lifting to conquer even 4 amos. So Rashi comes and says, welcome, Rashi comes and says a big chiddush, and that is that just laying on the ground, just the fact that you lay on the ground, that you're sleeping, that you're doing nothing, that is enough for Hashem to give the Yidden the land. We don't have to do any heavy lifting at all. It's even a greater level. The fact that Hashem says, I'm going to give you the land, all you have to do is lay on it. You don't have to do anything to conquer. You don't have to work hard at all, not even a little bit of work. Just like when a person sleeps, they're doing nothing. Hashem is saying, Hashem is telling Yaakov, I'm going to give the land to your children. It's going to be so easy. All they have to do is sit in a reclining chair. Just sit there. Just be there. They don't have to do anything. The land will be, Hashem is going to do all of the work of giving us the land. Just like with Chizkiyahu and Sancherev, Chizkiyahu said, I'm going to lay back, I'm going to go to sleep, and Hashem is going to take care of Sancherev. Hashem is going to do everything. When I don't have to do anything, that shows the greatest ownership. If I have to convince you, if I have to have an argument with you, then we're fighting. But if I don't have to do anything, that is the greatest form of ownership. So if you come into my house, I am so sure that my house is my house. I'm like, it's so clear by me. I don't have to have an argument with you. What are you doing here? You're in my house. I don't have to go there. It's so pashut. It's so simple that this is my house. That I don't have to do anything. This is my house. It's my house. There's no argument. There's nothing to talk about. It's not even an issue. So now compare and contrast the Gemara and Rashi. Okay, compare and contrast. Let's first compare and contrast Avraham and Yaakov, and then we're going to compare and contrast the Gemara and Rashi. Avram had to do something. He had to walk the land in order to feel the ownership and in order to prove the ownership, and everyone had to see that he was walking the land. Comes Yaakov, and now it's even a greater gift that Hashem is giving to us. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to prove ownership to anyone. Just the fact that we lay there, we're sleeping, we're doing nothing. Just the fact that we're there, is enough for us to own the land. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to have any arguments, any debates, nothing. We don't have to put Israel stickers on top of other stickers, there's no fight. There's no fight. It's as clear as day that we own it. Yaakov had to do nothing. Compare and contrast the Gemara and Rashi. Gemara's question is, why does Hashem say the land that you're laying on, such a small piece of land? So the Gemara explains over there that Hashem folded the entire land of Eretz Yisrael under him. That should be easy for the children to conquer it. And over there, Rashi comes and explains that, and he says there is a connection between conquering and folding the land, because just like it's easy to conquer four cubits, so it will be easy for you to conquer the land. Rashi over here says, I have no issue with the land. I know it's the whole land. Rashi saying, step number one, Hashem fold the whole land and put under Yaakov to prove ownership. To prove ownership. And this ownership, you're going to say, how did he prove ownership? He was sleeping. So Rashi is telling us there's a whole new layer over here. We don't even have to conquer 4 Amos. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just the fact, doing nothing is the greatest proof of ownership. We do nothing. Hashem does everything. Hashem does everything, and we don't have to do anything worrying about conquering. Hashem does all the conquering. All we have to do is be there and do nothing.
Today, maybe we should take a hint. Shouldn't argue with anybody.
Exactly. This is exactly the point that the Rebbe is coming to. Exactly the point that's coming to. We have to have the pride that we don't have to argue with anyone. We have to have the pride. This is my house. It's not up for discussion. It's so. Why do we have to feel so defensive? I heard a tiny clip. I was the banquet was the kinos. The Kinos HaShluchim was this weekend, and there was a banquet, and the beginning of the banquet, they had like they had a little bit of like questions and answers. They were asking Shluchim different questions. One of the questions they were asking Shluchim on campus, with all the anti-Semitism on campus. So this one shliach, Rabbi Greenberg, on campus, he says he was giving a class, and it was a class on ethics. So one of the students said, how could you talk about ethics when you're doing genocide in Gaza? So you know what the rabbi said? He said to the student, he said, did you kill your grandmother? So he said, no. Well, is your grandmother alive? No. And that was it. The fact that people are dying in Gaza doesn't mean that we killed them. It's not our fault. We're not doing the genocide. As soon as he put it in those terms,
that's scary, because
that's confidence. We're shaking in our boots. We feel so bad. We feel so bad for all those poor people in Gaza. But you know what? Therefore, we're not standing with enough pride to say this is our land. And we're a little bit shaky. Then what do you want from the rest of we're the ones who have to set the example to be 100% sure and clear and know that the land belongs to us. End of story. Where is our confidence? Our confidence is a little bit shaky. Yes, welcome confidence. And you know what? I'm not preparing this, and my husband's not.
Say on the mother, and that's it. You have to feel it.
You have to feel it. Yeah, you have to feel it.
Start practice little things. No, but sometimes it's like the little confidence. I'm the mother.
Today, my husband wasn't home. He's usually the strong one. My husband's not home, and the 3-year-old is saying she doesn't want to go to school. And I said, and she's crying. I said, why are you crying? She said she doesn't know. She doesn't know why she's crying. Maybe if she knows why she's crying, I could try to help her. She has no idea why she's crying. And the van is here, and everyone's waiting for her. I picked her up. I gave her a big kiss, and I with this in sicha in my head. And I put her in the van and I strapped her in and I closed the door and I walked into my house and that was it. Because you had.
She's supposed to cry when she doesn't want to go to school, but like you said, she didn't know why.
She didn't know why. She told me she doesn't know why. I said, when you know why, tell your sister, she'll call me on the phone and I'll see what I could do to help you. But no, but I'm saying that this guilt has to go. The guilt has to go. We have to know this land belongs to us from this border to that border to this border to that border, and it's non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. You want to start up with us? You know what? It's you're the murderers, not us. This is our land. You have enough place, enough land. Leave us alone. You fight with us, throw bombs and missiles and hurt us, and expect you're doing it to yourself. We're not the one. Exactly. That's exactly the problem. The thing is that when we are strong and when we know that this is our land, all of the nations will admit that it belongs to us as well.
It's not that they know,
they're trying to get us to know.
see that we are struggling.
That's right. He's getting them to make it very clear to us that it's ours. He's using them to make it very clear to us.
Okay, so there.
Check our mother and eventually
So according to the Gemara, it's a little bit different than Rashi. Okay, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. Okay, I just want to. Okay, there's 2 points. There's a Hasidus part which I want to talk about, and then there's what's going on in our current events. Okay, let's go in order of the Sicha. Okay, but we're going to still finish talking about the current events, how this applies to us today, and there's also a Hasidus element. I just want to go in order. Okay. So basically, just to summarize, according to the Gemara, the Yaakov's children are going to have to put a little bit of effort. They're going to have to invest a little bit of effort to conquer the land, just like it takes a little bit of effort to conquer 4 cubits, 4 ames. That's what it's going to take for us to conquer the land. That's according to the Gemara. According to Rashi, this minimal effort of conquering 4 cubits, even that we're not going to have to do. All we have to do is lay on it. That's it. That's all we have to do. That's according to Rashi. Be there. Just be there. That suffices. Just laying on it, that suffices that it belongs to you, that this is ours. Okay. So now the whole Rashi is transformed. Number one, we know that when when Hashem says the land that you're laying on, I'm going to give to you and to your children. Number one, according to Rashi, we know that it's talking about the entire land of Eretz Yisrael, not just one little piece. Number two, we learned the fact that it says that you're laying on it is a 2-part process. Number one, the fact that Hashem folded it under Yaakov is to show ownership, which is like the Medrash. That even if we do nothing, it belongs to us. And the fact that we're doing nothing shows that it's truly ours. And number two, how are we going to, in which manner will we conquer it? It's going to be with ease. It's going to be so easy that all you have to do is just lay on it. You don't have to do anything else, which is a step more than the Gemara, which says that you have to put a little bit of effort to conquer 4 cubits. According to Rashi, that it's going to be so easy. It's going to be so easy to conquer it, just as easy it is to sleep. Okay, now we're going to go into a whole Hasidus explanation. And the Hasidus explanation, it's important for us to do it before we talk about the current events. Okay. Last week in the Tanya class, we spoke about Hashem's relationship with this world is on 3 levels. Number 1, Hashem fills all the worlds, fills each and every one of us like a balloon. You put a certain amount, you have to blow a certain amount of air into it. Not too much, not too little. Too much, the balloon will pop. Too little, the balloon will be floppy. So Hashem, number 1, he fills every single creation. He fills the world with just the right amount of energy that every single thing needs. That's Mamalik Kol Omin. Number 2 is Sayiv Kol Omin, that Hashem surrounds all the worlds, that Hashem surrounds everything. Hashem's energy not just fills everything, but the immediate space around you, Hashem is around you also. And then the 3rd level is something that's completely beyond this world, that in Hashem's presence, everything is nothing. There's nothing there's nothing in the presence of Hashem. Those are the 3 levels. Okay. So we each have a neshama inside of us, right? So our neshama has 5 parts. First 3 parts, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, is inside of us. That's how Hashem fills us. Then there's something called chaya. That represents Sayiv Kol Omin, that surrounds us. And then the highest level is Yechida. Yechida is beyond us. Yechida takes up the space of 4 cubits of a person. It's not in me, it's not directly around me, but it takes up the 4 ames around the person. That's the Yechida. So, when Hashem takes the entire land of Israel and folds it up under Yaakov Avinu in his Dalid Amos, in his 4 cubits, what is Hashem doing? Hashem is making a connection and a link between the Yechida of Yaakov Avinu and the land of Eretz Yisrael. And what does that mean for us? Since we are Yaakov's children, Hashem is linking my Yechida, your Yechida, your Yechida, your Yechida with the land of Eretz Yisrael. Yechida is the highest level of my neshama, and it is intrinsically connected and one with the land of Israel. I feel like I came home because there's an intrinsic connection between your Yechida and the land of Israel. There's a connection between the Yechida of a Jew and the ownership of the land. And therefore, because my Yechida is one with the land of Israel, therefore to conquer it, I don't have to do anything. I just have to lay there. I just have to be there. I don't have to do anything because it's mine for my Yechida. I don't have to go into an argument and argue with you. Genocide, yes. Genocide, no. It is mine. I give you a piece. It's a non-issue. Just like I'm not going to argue with you. You say, you know what? I'll just take your basement. No, this is my house. It's not up for discussion. It's so far from anything, right? There's no opposition, and the Yechida is so holy that when it comes to the Yechida, there is no opposition. There is no shadow. You see, it's me and I have a shadow. My shadow is a little bit of darkness, right? A shadow is a little bit of darkness, but the shadow is directly, it's very, very close to me, the shadow. But my Daled Amos, there is no shadow. When you're talking about Yechida, There's no shadow. There's no shadow of a shadow. There's no hint of darkness. There is no evil. There is no bad. There's no opposition. There's no darkness. There's no shadow. There's no argument. Nothing could stop us when you're talking about the level of Yechida. We don't even need a war. It's just in a peaceful way. In a peaceful way. All the arguments just fade away, just melt away. Hashem gave Eretz Yisrael to the Yechida Shebenefesh of every Jew. And therefore, we could conquer it without fighting. And therefore, in the title, what did I write? Peace with ease, not conquer with ease. Peace with ease. Because the land of Israel belongs to the connections with our Yechida, there doesn't even need to be a conquest. That's how simple it should be, because it's so one with us. In the Gemara, if you just read the Gemara, it implies that if the Yidden want to conquer the land, then Hashem will help them do it easily. But today we see that there are Jews that argue that Eretz Yisrael is not ours. There are Jews that don't want it. There are Jews that want to give it to Arabs. As we said before, the first Rashi of the Chumash says that the nations of the world are going to say that you're robbers. And when we convey to the world the message of Hashem with proper strength and pride, then the nations of the world won't fight us. When we have the proper pride, then the arguments melt away. Problem is that there are Yidden that don't want the land. Some Yidden are ready to give up on the land. We'll give you the peace. We'll give you P-I-E-C-E for peace. P-E-A-C-E. We'll give you a piece of land for peace. So therefore we need Rashi. And Rashi comes and Rashi says it's not if the Yidden will want to conquer the land. Rashi says, Ramazloi. It's a hint. This is information. It's not if you're gonna want to conquer the land. Ramazloi, Hashem is hinting to him a fact that in the future we will get the land.
I look at it like meaning the land of Israel has nothing to do with, meaning in the way that they're fighting has nothing to do with me. Like, I could believe that it's more like I think it's a comfort, like whatever's going on in Israel. I know that in the end of days it will be ours and there will be no more fighting, right? So, but I'm looking at this lesson more like on a day-to-day, like on a day-to-day arguments with people and things.
But we know we're gonna get it eventually because it's gonna be ours because it's ours. We know that. But there is fighting, so now you have all these young men fighting and being drafted and not being drafted or whatever it is. So you can't really think about it like, oh, in the end, it's gonna be ours.
So what do we have to do? What's our avodah? What does Hashem want from us? From this pasuk, this is where we get the inspiration and the strength. And Hashem tells us, Hashem demands from us. Hashem demands from us that we should, Hashem is demanding from us that we should have the pride to face the world and say, this is our land. This is what Hashem wants from us. This is what Hashem wants from us. That just like Hashem created the world for a purpose, and Hashem made this great miracle, this earth-shattering miracle of folding the entire land and putting it under Yaakov Avinu. Hashem tells us why he did this. Hashem tells us he did this so that it should be easy for us to conquer the land. And Hashem is demanding from us to make it a reality. Hashem expects us to stand strong. And yes, there are politicians, and yes, there are other Yidden that say, "Oh, let's just give up on the land. Let's just make everyone happy. Let's equal and equality and this and that and other." But at the end of Galus, what's going to happen? The Yidden will do teshuvah, meaning the Yidden will stand with strength to hold on to all the borders of Eretz Yisrael. And when we stand with pride to hold all the borders of Eretz Yisrael, then the Geula will come.
Is there a reason that we have so like we didn't have that animosity? Is that part of our
It's
plan?
because our Yechida is not shining.
Is that it? But is it like in a way God's plan? But
So we have a job to do. Our job is to wake up the Yechida of every Jew. And how to wake up the Yechida of every Jew? Tefillin, Shabbos. I forgot to bring the Shabbos candles. Okay, Tefillin, Shabbos candles, all these things. This wakes up the Yechida of every Jew. When a Yid does a mitzvah, then their Yechida could shine. They could, and then they could have the strength to stand before the world and say, we don't have to fight with you. All we have to do is lay on the land. It is intrinsically connected to us. It's our land. End of story. Yechida is the highest part of your soul. It's your Pintla Yid. It's the piece of you that if, God forbid, you were living in a different generation and someone said to you, either bow down to the cross or I'm going to kill you. The part that says, no, I'm going to die, Al Kiddush Hashem, that's the Yechida. That's the Pintla Yid. That's your core. When that wakes up, a Jew will not do anything to separate himself from Hashem. That's the Yechida. This teaching was said in the year 1979. Imagine that. All we need to do is we have to say that this land is ours. We have to lay on it, say it's ours, because we have the promise of the Torah, we have the promise of Hashem that this land belongs to us.
No, I feel like the Arabs know this. Yeah, because they know it.
You know,
That's there.
Because those towns, it happened to some towns also, but the ones that were the hardest hit were towns that were trying to create peace between Gaza and Israel. They were so prideful in that. And they were hit the hardest. And so many of them now, because they were exposed to so many Haredi Hasadim, are starting to feel pride in Yiddishkeit instead of a pride in Israel. And so instead of making peace for Israel, they're now making Yiddishkeit part of their lives, and that's really where they have to. It's not the peaceful world.
Well, you're saying you're throughout our time. We had upheaval, World War I, World War II,
Each time
on
it
and
was
on.
about
So we're here now.
So as sad as October 7 was, they created such a Shiva movement. It was a thousands died, but thousands more becoming permanent.
So basically what we're saying is that we have to have the pride and the assurance that this land belongs to us, no questions asked. From a Hasidic perspective, our Yechida is tied to this land. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to conquer it. We don't have to fight you. We don't have to debate you. Nothing. It's just ours. That's just ours. And when we could have that confidence and reveal the Yechida in every single Jew, that they should also feel that this land belongs to us because Hashem said so.
Yeah, but we are technically fighting. All right. We have our soldiers in, we're fighting.
People, we're not fighting for our land. We're fighting to protect self-defense.
Also, maybe more ownership, it is our land. We're defending the fact that it is our land, I guess, more proof of ownership. All these years later. I know, I'm going to pass the president, my brain is going back and forth. Okay.
In order for Mashiach to come, and Hashem shouldn't wait for us, should just bring it already, because we are laying on the land. We are there. I mean, we're not there, me and you right now, but the Jewish people, all that are in Israel, that have the Mesiras Nefesh, to be there with bombs flying over their heads, rockets flying over their heads. The Jewish people are laying in the land. They are. And we have to,
Who's to say this is not part of it? We don't know that for sure, our intuition.
So we're not, we haven't gotten to the ultimate. The ultimate is Mashiach.
I don't know.
What Mashiach is going to look like, what it's going to look like when Mashiach comes, is that all Jews will have the pride that this is our land. No one's going to have any doubt on their head, and they're going to feel in every fiber of their being, and their Yechidah Shabbat will be revealed. And then when we're strong, all the nations, all their claims will just melt away. They're feeding off our insecurity.
And they say that. Anytime there's something really major happens, they realize that the Jews are not all the protests against the government that was going on right before October 7th, stuff like that. Now, after a whole year, again, you have it a little bit, where you have the people who were pro-Torah and army. They're now they're starting to get all antsy, and they're grabbing the people already because they're losing their belief, They themselves are anti-Semites, even though they're not realizing that the whole world is so anti-Semitic against us. They should just stay put over there and realize that Torah is what's helping us,
And the Rebbe spoke about this 45 years ago. How much more so today? Much more so today. So let's just look at this Rashi one more time.
There would not be fighting, because if they would just be run over.
No, so right now we have no choice but to protect our boundaries and to protect. We have no choice but to protect our land. But the work for us is not to is to have the pride that this land belongs to us, and we don't have to give anything to anyone. And every single border, whatever the Torah says is our land, which includes Gaza, it's ours. We don't have to be apologetic, not to the UN and not to anybody else. We have to stand strong, realize who we are, realize that we are the children of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and that this land is intrinsically ours, and we do not have to be apologetic to anyone. And the fact that there's suffering going on, it's not it's their fault. They're the ones that did it burden upon themselves. We have to protect ourselves. We're not the one that's doing genocide. It's Hamas that's doing genocide. And they're using human shields. They're the ones that are killing their own people. It's not us. It's not us. And when we stand strong, when we stand strong with our beliefs, and when we inspire every single Jew to realize this truth, we don't have to be apologetic, and that this land belongs to us. Then when we are strong, our enemies, their claims are just going to melt away.
So saying that they want a two-state solution is being apologetic.
Yes.
Facing an enemy,
Right. And you
you don't have to argue or being confident. That's right. That will allow.
And the tour guide, somebody asked him, "Why don't you see a bear?" See a bear, you stand up and you yell at the bear. I was here first.
Wow.
So this way, the gentleman, he was alone out in the water, and the bear came and he first he got panicked, and then he stood up and screamed, "I was here first," and the bear, hold on.
Yes.
He looked at it like rain, felt sweet.
Yes.
Goes with any bully.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.